The Meridian moved slowly toward the giant space station. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the massive structure grow larger through the front window. The station looked like a metal city floating in space, with lights blinking everywhere and ships moving in and out like busy insects. "Look at that thing," said Lisa Carter from her seat at the communications panel. "I've never seen anything so big." Tony Rodriguez whistled low as he checked his instruments. "The scans show it's 3 times bigger than Earth's biggest spaceport. This place must hold millions of aliens." Amanda Brooks stood near the captain, her hand resting on her weapon. As head of security, she always stayed alert when meeting new alien species. "Sir, are you sure about bringing Rex along? These aliens might not understand." Jake looked down at the German shepherd sitting beside his chair. Rex's brown eyes looked back at him with complete trust. The dog had been with Jake for 6 years, through 3 deep space missions and countless dangerous situations. Rex was more than a pet, he was family. "Rex goes where I go," Jake said firmly. "He's part of this crew." The communication system crackled to life. A strange clicking voice spoke in broken English. "Human ship Meridian, you are cleared to dock at Bay 774. Prepare for customs inspection." "Understood, Nexus Station," Lisa replied. "We're coming in now." As the Meridian settled into the docking bay, Jake could see alien creatures moving around outside. Some looked like giant insects walking on 2 legs. Others seemed to be made of crystal, sparkling under the station's lights. A few appeared to be clouds of colored gas floating in special suits. "Remember, we're here to establish trade relations," Jake told his crew. "Earth needs the rare metals they mine in this sector. Let's make a good impression." They walked through the airlock into the station. The air smelled strange, like flowers mixed with machine oil. Rex stayed close to Jake's side, his nose twitching at all the new scents. The ceiling stretched high above them, and the walls were covered in symbols from dozens of different alien languages. A tall insect-like creature approached them. It stood nearly 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and large compound eyes that reflected the station's lights. Its skin looked like green metal, and it moved with quick, jerky motions. "I am Commander Vexter," the creature said in a voice that sounded like metal scraping against metal. "I run this station. You are the humans, yes?" "That's right," Jake said, extending his hand. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison. This is my crew, Lisa Carter, Tony Rodriguez, and Amanda Brooks." Vexter looked at Jake's hand for a moment, but didn't take it. Instead, his large eyes focused on Rex. "And what is this creature?" "This is Rex, my dog," Jake said proudly. "He's been with me for years." Suddenly, Vexter began making a sound like metal plates clanging together. Jake realized the alien was laughing. Other aliens nearby heard the noise and came closer to see what was funny. "You brought a pet?" Vexter said, still making the clanging sound. "A grown warrior brings a small animal with him to important meetings." A group of crystal beings approached, their bodies ringing like bells as they moved. The sound they made was musical, but somehow mocking. One of them spoke in a voice like wind chimes. "We heard correctly? The humans keep lesser creatures for emotional comfort?" "It's called companionship," Lisa said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Many humans have bonds with animals." More aliens gathered around them. A floating cloud of purple gas pulsed brighter and darker in patterns that clearly showed amusement. "How primitive," it said in a voice like rushing air. "My species gave up such childish needs millions of years ago." Rex sensed the tension in the air. He moved closer to Jake, not showing fear but staying alert. His ears were up, listening to every sound around them. "On my world," Vexter announced loudly, "only younglings form attachments to lesser beings. Adults understand that such creatures serve no purpose. They cannot fight, they cannot work complex machines, they cannot think at advanced levels. Why do you burden yourself Other aliens nodded or made sounds of agreement. Jake felt his face growing hot with anger, but he forced himself to stay calm. Rex has saved my life more than once. He's loyal, brave, and intelligent. Intelligent? Vexter clicked his mandibles together in what was clearly alien laughter. It is a simple animal with a simple brain. Watch. He picked up a small metal device from a nearby table and threw it across the room. Fetch, animal. Show us this great intelligence. Rex looked at the device, then back at Jake. He didn't move. See? Vexter said to the crowd. It does not even understand basic commands. Yet you travel across space with this useless creature. Jake knelt down and gently scratched Rex behind the ears. That's because he's not a toy or a slave. He's my partner. He thinks for himself. The crystalline beings made their bell-like laughter again. Partner? One chimed. You consider this small animal your equal? In many ways, yes, Jake said. Standing up, this caused an uproar among the aliens. They buzzed, chimed, and pulsed with what was clearly mockery and disbelief. Jake heard whispered comments in alien languages he didn't understand, but the tone was universal. They were making fun of him and his crew. A thin alien with blue skin and too many eyes approached them. I am a traitor, it said. I have traveled to many worlds and seen many strange customs, but I have never seen warriors so attached to food animals. On my world, we eat creatures like this. Amanda stepped forward, her hand moving toward her weapon. That's enough, she said firmly. No, Vexter said, holding up two of his 4 hands. We mean no harm. We are simply curious about human customs. Perhaps we should begin our official meeting now, though I suggest you leave your pet somewhere safe. The adults have important business to discuss. Jake felt Rex lean against his leg. The dog was offering comfort and support, just as he had done countless times before. Looking around at all the alien faces, some amused, some disgusted, some simply confused, Jake made a decision. Rex stays with me, he said clearly. If you want to do business with humans, you'll have to accept that we don't abandon our friends. Vexter made his clanging laugh again. Very well, human. Bring your small friend. But do not expect us to take you seriously while you cling to such primitive attachments. As they walked toward the meeting room, Jake heard aliens placing bets in their strange languages. He couldn't understand the words, but he caught numbers and what sounded like odds. They were betting on when humans would grow out of keeping pets. Rex walked proudly beside Jake, ignoring the stares and strange sounds around them. The dog had faced hostile aliens before and had never backed down. Today would be no different. Jake just hoped he wouldn't live to regret bringing his best friend into this nest of mockery and contempt. 3 weeks had passed since the difficult meeting at Nexus Station. Jake and his crew were halfway back to Earth when the emergency signal came through. Lisa jumped in her seat as the communication system started beeping loudly. Captain, we're getting a distress call, she said, putting on her headset. It's from the mining colony on Kepler 442c. Jake hurried to the bridge with Rex following close behind. Put it through. A woman's voice came through the speakers, full of fear and static. This is Dr. Susan Phillips at Research Station Alpha. We're under attack by unknown ships. They came out of nowhere and started firing. Our defenses are down and we have wounded. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need immediate help. The signal cut to static, then went silent. Tony checked his instruments quickly. Sir, that planet is only 6 hours away at full speed. But it's in a dangerous part of space. Lots of pirates in that area. Amanda frowned as she studied the star charts. It could be a trap, Captain. Pirates sometimes use fake distress calls to lure ships into ambushes. Jake thought for a moment, scratching Rex behind the ears as he always did when making hard decisions. The dog looked up at him with calm, trusting eyes. We can't ignore a distress call, Jake decided. If there are people in danger, we have to help. Set course for Kepler 442c, maximum speed. Yes, sir, Tony said, his fingers flying over the controls dot as the Meridian changed course and picked up speed. Lisa tried to contact the research station again. All she got was static and silence. She also tried to reach other ships in the area. But no one answered. It's strange, she told Jake. Usually there's lots of radio traffic in mining areas. Ships talking to each other, stations reporting cargo loads, that sort of thing. But it's completely quiet out there. Rex seemed restless during the journey. He walked around the bridge more than usual, stopping to sniff at air vents and looking toward the front windows as if he could see their destination. Jake had learned to trust the dog's instincts over the years. "What is it, boy?" Jake asked quietly. "You sense something?" Rex whined softly and pressed closer to Jake's leg. 5 hours. Into their journey, they received another message. This time it came from Nexus Station. Commander Vexther's harsh voice filled the bridge. "Human vessel Meridian, we have learned of your mission to the Kepler system. This area has become very dangerous. Many ships have gone missing. We are sending 3 of our patrol ships to escort you safely." Jake looked at his crew with surprise. "That's unexpected. Why would they want to help us?" "Maybe they feel bad about how they treated us," Lisa suggested. Amanda shook her head. "I don't trust it. These are the same aliens who spent hours making fun of us. Why would they suddenly care about our safety?" Before Jake could respond, 3 alien ships appeared on their sensors. The ships were sleek and fast, moving into formation around the Meridian. "This is Patrol Leader Zarthok," came a new alien voice. "We will guide you safely to your destination. Follow our lead and do not break formation." Something felt wrong to Jake, but he couldn't put his finger on what it was. Rex seemed to agree. The dog was pacing back and forth, clearly agitated. About something. As they approached Kepler 442c, the planet looked dead and empty. It was mostly brown rock with no signs of life from space. Tony's scans showed the research station, but it wasn't sending out any power signals. "That's odd," Tony said, studying his readings. "The station is there, but it looks completely shut. Down, no lights, no power, nothing. Maybe their generators were damaged in the attack," Lisa said hopefully. The alien escort ships guided them toward the planet's surface. As they entered the atmosphere, strange things started happening to the Meridian systems. The navigation computer began showing wrong directions. The communication system started making weird noises. "Tony, what's going on?" Jake asked. Tony's face was pale as he worked at his controls. "Sir, someone's been messing with our systems. These problems didn't just happen. They were caused on purpose." "What do you mean?" "I mean someone put some kind of virus or sabotage program into our computers. It's been sitting there waiting, and now it's active." The ship started shaking as they dropped through the clouds. The steering felt heavy and wrong. Warning lights flashed all over the bridge. "I'm losing control," Tony said, sweat running down his face. "We're going to crash." Rex barked once, sharp and loud. It was his warning bark, the one he used when danger was very close. "Hold on, everyone," Jake shouted. "This is going to be rough." The Meridian hit the ground hard, bouncing twice before sliding to a stop near the research station. Smoke filled. The bridge and alarms were going off everywhere. Jake's head hurt and he could taste blood in his mouth. "Everyone okay?" he called out. His crew answered one by one. They were bruised and shaken but alive. Rex had been thrown against a wall but got up and shook himself off. Amanda was the first to recover fully. She grabbed her weapons and moved to the window. "Captain, you need to see this." Jake joined her and looked out at the research station. It looked perfectly fine, no damage, no signs of any attack. But more importantly, alien ships were landing all around them. Lots of alien ships. "It's a trap," Amanda said quietly. the research station's main door opened and aliens started walking out. Jake recognized Commander Vexter's tall form leading the group. Behind him came crystal beings, gas clouds in mechanical suits, and other species from Nexus Station. The distress call was fake, Lisa realized. Dr. Susan Phillips doesn't exist. But why? Tony asked. Why would they do this to us? Jake watched as dozens of armed aliens surrounded their crashed ship. Rex growled low in his throat, the sound he made when he was ready to fight. Because they want to prove something, Jake said grimly. They want to show the galaxy that humans are weak and stupid, and they think capturing us will prove it. Commander. Vexter's voice came through their communication system, full of satisfaction and mockery. Greetings, humans. Welcome to your new home. I hope you enjoyed your flight. And please, bring your little pet with you when you come out. We have such interesting plans for both of you. Jake put his hand on Rex's head. The dog looked up at him with complete trust, ready to face whatever came next. Stay close, boy, Jake whispered. We're going to need each other now more than ever. Outside, the aliens waited with weapons ready and cruel laughter in their strange voices. The aliens forced Jake and his crew out of their crashed ship at gunpoint. Rex stayed close to Jake's side, his hackles raised and a low growl rumbling from his throat. The dog could sense the danger all around them. Commander Vexter stood waiting, with his 4 arms crossed, looking very pleased with himself. Behind him were dozens of aliens from different species, crystal beings that sparkled in the sunlight, gas creatures floating in their mechanical suits, and large reptile-like aliens with scales and sharp teeth. Welcome to your new home, humans, Vexter said with his metal-scraping laugh. I hope you enjoyed our little performance. Dr. Susan Phillips was quite convincing, don't you think? A shimmering hologram appeared next to him. It looked like a human woman in a lab coat, but the image flickered and had a blue tint to it. Please help us, the hologram said in the same frightened voice they had heard on the radio. We're under attack. Then it laughed with Vexter's voice coming out of the woman's mouth. You created a fake person, Lisa said, her voice full of anger and disgust. Of course we did, replied a crystal being, its voice ringing like broken glass. Humans are so predictable. You always try to help others, even when it puts you in danger. We knew you would come running. Amanda stepped forward, but 3 large reptile aliens pointed their weapons at her. Why? She demanded. What do you want with us? Vexter walked closer to Jake, his compound eyes studying both the human and his dog. We want to prove a point to the entire galaxy. You humans think you're so special with your emotional attachments and your primitive bonds. We're going to show everyone just how weak and foolish you really are. By kidnapping us? Jake asked. By studying you, said a gas creature, its colors pulsing with amusement. We're going to document your pathetic behavior when separated from your comfort animals. Then we'll sell the recordings to every species in the galaxy. Everyone will see how humans fall apart without their pets. Rex snarled and took a step forward, but Jake put a hand on his head to calm him down. Easy, boy, Jake whispered. Not yet. The aliens marched them toward the research station. Inside, Jake could see that it had been completely changed. What should have been a mining facility was now set up like a prison. There were individual cells along the walls, each designed to hold different types of creatures. We've been planning this for months, Vexter explained as they walked. After your visit to Nexus Station, we decided that humans needed to be taught a lesson. Your species thinks it can join the galactic community while clinging to these ridiculous animal attachments. We're going to cure you of that weakness. They separated the crew members, putting each person in a different cell. The cells were made of some kind of energy field that buzzed and sparked when touched. Jake watched helplessly as Lisa, Tony, and Amanda were locked away in different parts of the facility. And now for the star of our show, Vexter said, looking down at Rex. the famous human pet. Two reptile aliens grabbed Rex by his collar, but the dog spun around and snapped at them. His teeth caught one alien's scaly hand, drawing green blood. The alien yelped and let go. "Rex, no," Jake called out. He didn't want his friend to get hurt. More aliens surrounded Rex, pointing strange-looking weapons at him. The dog stopped fighting but kept growling, his eyes never leaving the aliens around. "Him." "Fascinating," said Vexter. "The animal actually tries to protect itself. Most creatures we study just give up when captured." They dragged Rex to a special cage that looked like it was meant for holding dangerous animals. It had thick metal, bars and electronic locks. They shoved the German Shepherd inside and sealed the door. "There," Vexter said with satisfaction. "Now we can begin our experiments. We'll document how long it takes for the human to break without his emotional support creature." Jake was pushed into his own cell directly across from Rex's cage. He could see his dog pacing back and forth, testing the bars with his nose and paws. "Let him go," Jake said firmly. "Your problem is with me, not with him." "Oh, but that's where you're wrong," said a crystal being. "The animal is the key to understanding human weakness. Watch how you react when we start our tests on it." Over the next few hours, the aliens took turns coming to stare at Rex and Jake. They made notes on electronic devices and spoke in their own languages. Some pointed at Rex and made sounds that were clearly mocking. During the quiet times, Jake could hear his crew members in other parts of the facility. Lisa had managed to hide a small communication device and was using it to talk to the others. When the aliens weren't watching, "Tony, can you hear me?" Her voice whispered through the walls. "I'm here," came Tony's reply. "They damaged my cell's power supply when they put me in. I might be able to short-circuit the whole system if I can. Reach the right wires. Amanda, what about you?" "I'm studying their guard patterns," Amanda's voice answered. "They change shifts every 6 hours. There might be a weak point around midnight when they switch." Jake listened to his crew planning while watching Rex in his cage. The dog had stopped pacing and was now sitting quietly, but his ears were up and alert. Jake had seen this behavior before. Rex was thinking, planning something. "What is it, boy?" Jake whispered. Rex looked at him for a moment, then began examining his cage more carefully. He sniffed at the lock mechanism, tested different bars with his teeth, and used his paws to feel along the floor of the cage. The aliens had made a mistake. They thought Rex was just a simple animal, but Jake had trained him for years. Rex had learned to open doors, activate emergency systems, and solve complex problems. The aliens saw a pet, but Jake knew better. He was looking at a highly trained soldier who happened to have 4 legs. "Commander." Vexter appeared at Jake's cell with several other aliens. "How are you feeling, human? Missing your little friend?" "Yet? We haven't even started the real experiments." "What kind of experiments?" Jake asked, trying to keep his voice calm. "Oh, nothing too harmful," Vexter said with false kindness. "We'll just test the animal's responses to different stimuli. Lights, sounds, mild electrical shocks, all very scientific. We want to see how you react to your pet's distress." Jake felt anger burning in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. Getting angry wouldn't help Rex or his crew. "You're making a mistake," Jake said quietly. "Really? And what mistake is that?" Jake looked over at Rex, who was still examining his cage with careful attention. "You think you understand what Rex is, but you don't. You see a pet, but he's actually my partner. And partners look out for each other." Vexter made his clanging laugh. "Your animal can't even escape a simple cage. What kind of partner is that?" Jake smiled for the first time since being captured. "The kind that's smarter than you think." As if responding to Jake's words, Rex looked up from his examination of the cage and met his human's eyes. For just a moment, Jake could swear he saw. The dog nodded slightly, The aliens might have set the perfect trap, but they had made one critical error. They had underestimated both the intelligence of Rex and the bond between human and dog that had been forged through years of trust and training. Soon, they were going to learn just how big a mistake that was. It was the middle of the third night when Rex made his move. The alien guards had changed shifts an hour ago, and most of them were in the control room playing some kind of gambling game with glowing cubes. Their loud voices and strange laughter echoed through the facility. Jake had been watching Rex carefully for the past 2 days. The dog had spent hours studying every inch of his cage, memorizing the guard patterns, and testing different parts of the lock system when no one was looking. Rex was doing exactly what Jake had trained him to do during their search and rescue missions: gather information and wait for the right moment. Rex moved to the back corner of his cage, where shadows hid him from the security cameras. Jake had noticed that the aliens had a blind spot there. Rex began working on something with his teeth and claws, making tiny scratching sounds that were barely audible. The cage had been designed to hold wild animals, not a highly trained military dog. The aliens had focused on making the bars strong and the locks electronic, but they hadn't thought about mechanical backup systems. Every cage had an emergency release in case of power failure, a simple lever hidden behind a small panel. Rex had found that panel on his first day, but he had waited until now to use it. Jake watched in amazement as his dog used his claws to pry open the panel, then carefully gripped the emergency lever with his teeth. Years of training exercises had taught Rex how to operate simple mechanisms. There was a soft click, and the cage door swung open silently. Rex stepped out and immediately dropped low to the ground. He moved like a shadow across the floor, using all the stealth training Jake had taught him. The dog made no sound as he crept toward Jake's cell. The energy field that kept Jake trapped was controlled by a panel next to the cell door. Rex studied it for a moment, then began pressing buttons with his nose. Jake had taught him number sequences during their training, simple combinations that Rex could remember and repeat. After 3 tries, the energy field flickered and went out. Jake stepped out of his cell and knelt down to scratch Rex behind the ears. "Good boy," he whispered. "Best dog in the galaxy." Rex wagged his tail once, then became serious again. They had work to do. Moving together through the dark facility, they made their way to Lisa's cell first. Rex's superior hearing helped them avoid 2 guard patrols. The dog would freeze and point his ears toward danger, giving Jake time to hide in doorways and alcoves. Lisa's cell had a different type of lock, but Rex had been watching the guards operate it for days. He pressed a sequence of colored buttons. While Jake kept watch, the door slid open with a quiet hiss. "Jake?" Lisa whispered in surprise. "How did you get out?" "Rex figured it out," Jake said simply. "Can you move quietly?" "Yes, but how are we going to free the others?" Rex was already moving toward Tony's cell, his nose leading them through the maze of corridors. The dog had memorized the entire layout of the facility by listening to footsteps and voices. Tony's cell was more challenging. The lock required both a code and a keycard. But Rex had watched an alien guard drop his keycard earlier that day, and the dog had carefully noted where it landed behind a supply crate. While Jake retrieved the keycard, Rex worked on the code panel. It took him longer this time, but eventually the lock clicked open. "Rex did this?" Tony asked in amazement as they freed him. "He's been planning this escape for 3 days," Jake explained. "He's a lot smarter than the aliens think." Amanda's cell was the most heavily guarded, but Rex had a solution for that too. The dog led them through the ventilation system, crawling through ducts that connected different parts of the facility. Rex's small size and excellent sense of direction made him the perfect guide. They dropped down into Amanda's cell from an air vent in the ceiling. "About time," Amanda said with a grin. "I was starting to think you'd forgotten about me." "Never," Jake said. "But we're not done yet." We need to disable their communication system so they can't call for help, and we need to get evidence of what they did to us. Rex led them toward the facility's main computer room. The dog seemed to know exactly where to go, following scent trails and sound patterns he had memorized. When they reached a heavily guarded corridor, Rex found another way through maintenance tunnels. The computer room was protected by multiple security systems, but Rex had been listening to the technicians working for days. He knew which buttons they pressed and in what order, while Tony worked on downloading evidence files and Lisa tried to send a distress signal to human space. Rex and Jake dealt with the security system. The dog had learned to recognize the shutdown sequence by watching alien technicians during their shift changes. "Got it," Tony whispered. "I've copied all their files about the kidnapping plot. This proves what they did to us. And I've sent a signal to the human patrol fleet," Lisa added. "Help should be here in 6 hours." Amanda had been watching the corridors for guards. "We need to move. I can hear them coming." But as they tried to leave the computer room, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed and alien voices shouted in panic over the communication system. "They know we're out," Jake said. Heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors as guards ran toward their location. The aliens were no longer treating this as a simple research project. They were hunting escaped prisoners. Rex growled low in his throat and positioned himself between Jake and the approaching danger. The dog's training had prepared him for combat situations, and he was ready to protect his human family. "This way," Amanda said, pointing toward an emergency exit. "We can make it to their shuttle bay." As they ran through the facility, alien guards appeared around every corner. Rex proved invaluable, using his speed and agility to trip guards and create confusion. The dog darted between alien legs, causing them to stumble and fall while the humans escaped. Commander Vexter's voice boomed over the facility speakers. "Find them! Don't let the humans escape. Our reputation depends on this." But it was too late. Rex had already proven that the aliens' understanding of human-animal bonds was completely wrong. The dog wasn't a weakness or a burden. He was the key to their freedom. Jake smiled as they reached the shuttle bay. The aliens were about to learn that underestimating humans and their companions was the biggest mistake they could make. Rex barked, once sharp and confident. It was his victory bark, the sound he made when a mission was successful. The escape was just the beginning. Now it was time to turn the tables on their captors. The human crew reached the shuttle bay just as Commander Vexter and his guards arrived from the other direction. The tall alien's compound eyes blazed with anger as he saw his escaped prisoners. "Impossible," Vexter clicked, his forearms gesturing wildly. "How did a simple animal open electronic locks?" Jake stood protectively in front of Rex, who was alert and ready for whatever came next. "I told you before, Rex isn't just a pet, he's my partner. Partners think and plan together," Amanda added, her weapon trained on the alien guards. "Something your species apparently doesn't understand." More aliens poured into the shuttle bay, crystal beings that rang like angry bells, gas creatures pulsing with furious colors, and large reptilian soldiers with their scales bristling. But instead of immediately attacking, they all stared at Rex in confusion and amazement. "The creature solved our security systems," whispered one of the crystal beings. "It understood our technology. It worked as part of a team," said a gas alien, its colors shifting to show bewilderment. "We never considered that possibility." Tony had been working on one of the alien shuttles during the confrontation. "Jake, this ship is ready to fly. Their technology isn't that different from ours." But before anyone could move toward the shuttle, new alarms started blaring. These weren't the security alarms from before. These were much louder and more urgent. Lisa checked her communication device. "The human patrol fleet is here early. 3 destroyers just dropped out of hyperspace." Commander Vexter's confidence cracked for the first time. That's impossible. They couldn't have received your signal so quickly. Actually, they could, Jake said with a smile. You see, Rex did more than just help us escape. While you were all focused on his lock-picking skills, he was also gathering intelligence. Rex barked once and trotted over to a computer terminal. Using his nose, he activated a recording that started playing throughout the facility. It was Vexther's own, voiced from 3 days earlier. We're going to document your pathetic behavior when separated from your comfort animals. Then we'll sell the recordings to every species in the galaxy. The recording continued with other aliens laughing and describing their plans to torture Rex and humiliate the humans. Every cruel word they had spoken was captured and broadcast. Rex activated the facility's recording system on our first day here, Jake explained. He's been trained to gather evidence during rescue missions. While you thought he was just a scared animal, he was actually documenting your crimes. The crystal beings began ringing in distress. The gas creature's colors flickered with panic. Even the reptilian guards looked uncertain. The recording has been transmitted to the human fleet and the Galactic Council, Lisa announced. Every species in the galaxy will know what you did here. Commander Vexther raised his weapons. Then, we'll have to make sure none of you leave here alive to testify. But before he could give the order to fire, Rex sprang into action. The dog had been waiting for this moment, using all his combat training. He leaped at the nearest guard, knocking the alien's weapon away, then darted between their legs, causing chaos and confusion. Amanda and Jake followed Rex's lead, disarming guards while Tony and Lisa secured the shuttle. Rex moved like a blur through the alien ranks, always staying one step ahead of their clumsy attempts to catch him. Stop running and fight like warriors, Vexther shouted at his guards. We are fighting like warriors, Jake called back as he helped Amanda subdue 2 crystal beings. We're fighting as a team. Rex is teaching your soldiers something about real partnership. The shuttle bay doors suddenly opened as the human patrol ships docked with the facility. Marines in powered armor poured through the airlock, their weapons ready. This is Captain Betty Johnson of the Earth Defense Force, came a voice over the communication system. You are all under arrest for kidnapping and conspiracy against Galactic Council members. The alien resistance collapsed immediately. Faced with armed human Marines and the evidence of their crimes, even Commander Vexther dropped his weapons. How? He asked Jake in defeat. How did you know we would try to capture you? Jake knelt down and scratched Rex behind the ears. We didn't. But Rex sensed something was wrong from the beginning. Dogs have instincts that can spot danger before it happens. I should have listened to him sooner. Rex wagged his tail and licked Jake's face, happy to have his human safe. Hours later, Jake and his crew stood in the shuttle bay of the human destroyer. Rex lay comfortably at Jake's feet, finally relaxed after days of tension and danger. Captain Johnson finished reading the charges against the aliens. The Galactic Council will be very interested in this case. Kidnapping council members is a serious crime. What will happen to them? Lisa asked. They'll face trial on the council homeworld. Your evidence makes conviction certain. As for their reputations, Captain Johnson smiled grimly. Every species in the galaxy now knows they were outsmarted by a dog. 3 months later, Jake received a message from the Galactic Council. Rex had been awarded the Council Medal of Honor, the first non-sentient being ever to receive such recognition. The ceremony would be held on Earth, with representatives from dozens of alien species attending. Think you're ready for another diplomatic mission, boy? Jake asked Rex as they prepared for the ceremony. Rex barked happily and wagged his tail. He was always ready for whatever came next. The ceremony was held in the largest stadium on Earth. Aliens who had once mocked human pet relationships now watched in respectful silence as Rex received his medal. The German shepherd sat proudly beside Jake, his medal gleaming in the sunlight. Commander Vexther serving his sentence in a council prison, watched the ceremony on a small screen in his cell. The alien who had once laughed at human weakness now understood the truth. The bond between humans and their animal companions wasn't primitive at all. It was one of humanity's greatest strengths. As the ceremony ended and aliens from across the galaxy applauded, Jake smiled down at Rex. "Good boy," he said quietly. "You showed them all what real partnership looks like." Rex looked up at his human with calm, intelligent eyes. He had always known what he was capable of. Now, finally, the rest of the galaxy knew it too. The age of mocking human pets was over. The age of respecting human-animal partnerships had begun.